Every great deal starts with a question. Is this property a problem or an opportunity? At the Real Estate Deal Lab, we open the file, study the numbers, inspect the repairs, and separate emotion from evidence. From neighborhood signals to renovation risk, every detail is tested against the deal. Then the strategy comes into focus. What to offer, what to avoid, where the upside is hiding. Welcome to a sharper way to analyze real estate, built for investors who want clarity before they make the move. Welcome to the Real Estate Deal Lab.
Hit the button. Boom. Welcome everybody to the Real Estate Deal Lab. I am so excited. I'm Nathaniel Cochran, your host, where the Real Estate Deal Lab is a community where we offer not only real estate investor experiences, advice, and advisory, but we also share a lot of what we have already done in real estate, what we're working on. And we're so excited that Jed is here with us. He's going to explain a little bit about what he does in real estate investing. And I don't want to butcher the last name, so go ahead.
I was just going to say, you didn't want to take a stab at it, did you?
Chance. I didn't want to take the chance.
You're not the first. It's Matricaria.
Matricaria.
And if you really want to lean into it, you put the hand up and you say Matricaria.
Matricaria.
There you go. There you go.
And that's how we met. Really, it was just with me doing this.
That's right. The networking event. You were chatting. I said, "Hey,
Yep.
I got to go talk to this guy."
That's right.
Well, thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Definitely. So tell me a little bit about what made you get into real estate, and what's your role in it now?
Sure. Well, the long story short is I got into real estate because family was involved. My brother specifically has a long, really successful career in commercial real estate, and I saw his success, was interested, and jumped in. Quite frankly, I jumped in on the brokerage side and was brokering deals. So I started. Crazy story, actually, Nathaniel. I started my career in commercial real estate.
We love those here. Okay.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
Great. Well, I don't know how much
The
time
crazier
you've
the
got,
better.
but hopefully this story will let your audience know that regardless of where they're starting from,
Right.
no matter what challenges are in front of them, they can overcome them. Because I found myself in northern New Jersey. My wife and I had moved to the area primarily because she had a phenomenal opportunity in New York City, and we were just on the Jersey side of the Hudson. So we moved there in late March 2020. So right before the global pandemic hit, I literally got into commercial real estate 2 weeks before everything shut down.
Really?
So I was new to the state, to the area. I did not know a single person, not one investor. I didn't know anybody or even know the market that I was going to be specializing in. So I started my career not able to meet anybody, doing a lot of these on Zoom calls and what have you. So, just introducing myself to people, finding out their story, finding out how I could be of value to them, all the while learning my market and growing from doing this in my living room to being one of the top multifamily investment brokers in New Jersey. So we're really proud of that. And despite the obstacles that I had in front of me, nothing new, just grinding, learning from each phone call and conversation, and one thing led to another.
I just want to say, first of all, that is huge that you can go to a city that you're not even familiar with and really crush it like that. Because I know you, Jed, but like you did not tell me the big deals that I had to go through and research. And I'm like, he did 702 unit portfolio deal, I mean, that's incredible. Like what kind of mindset you had to have a mindset when you hit the ground running during pandemic,
Yeah.
right? 2020 in New York where everything and up north where everything is shut down.
Yeah.
Like in Florida, we were Wild West, right? Like you could go out and do everything. How in the world did you do that?
Well, to be perfectly fair, so I joined one of the leading teams in northern New Jersey to gain exposure and experience. So yes, I was part of a 702 unit portfolio, 90, I don't even remember, 95, 98 and a half million, whatever it was. It was the largest sale of multifamily sale of New Jersey. But that was not done on my own. So, and I think that's important to mention because when you start off in commercial real estate, you're only as good as the team that you surround yourself with. So I made a point to interview with all the top brokerages in the area, in the nation, quite frankly. And I decided that the team I joined was the best place for me to gain that exposure, have immediate credibility in the market, and then start to do deals on my own. And, I was a pivotal part of that deal for sure. But all the deals in my track record that came after that are solely from, just putting in the effort and following and really trusting the process, but following that process despite it not really showing any fruits of your labor immediately. So commercial real estate is a different ball game, and I'm happy to elaborate. Whatever.
Oh yeah. No, that's what we're here to elaborate because, as you said, it is a different ball game. Larger checks in the end, but it takes a lot to get there, right? So what kept you going in order to get there? Because it has to be something where you're like, one of these days, oh man, this is just taking forever. Like, so
Yeah.
what kept you going each deal? Did you have a pipeline of deals going at the same time, or you just focused on one? What was that process as well?
I mean, I grew a pipeline, and I backed into the income I wanted to make, and the way that I did that. And let me, you asked a lot of things there, and I want to make sure I answer them all. So
Yeah.
What kept me going is just understanding why I was doing it. And it was really for financial freedom for me and for my family, so that I was in I was in corporate America for most of my career, and was making a good living. That said, I've always had just bigger aspirations, and something that corporate America wasn't going to provide to me. And it's easy to get stuck in those roles. I'm sure you've heard, and your viewers have heard, the golden handcuffs. You can make a decent living and you get good benefits, and you get into a routine, and then you get vacation time, and it can provide a nice life. However, I just had bigger aspirations, and it was something that I just wasn't really inspired by. So I eventually took the leap of faith in myself, and what kept me going was really, I mentioned the reason I got into commercial real estate was because I saw my brother having a successful career, and we're best friends. So, if he's telling me something, I know that I can trust it. And in a world where, I guess you can say you trust but verify a lot of times. And I always give people the benefit of the doubt when I'm working with them. That said, you do have to look at deals and people and certain things. I mean, it's with a skeptical mind. I think in order to protect yourself and your interests and your loved ones. But in this case, the game plan, so to speak, was laid out in front of me by somebody who I knew loved me, trust me. There's a mutual respect, and I knew he wouldn't guide me in the wrong direction. In addition, he's an executive with a national firm where he's grown many brokers to be very successful. So all I had to do was just trust in that, and then execute. So I had that in the back of my mind, and that's not something that people are given frequently. And quite frankly, I don't think I would have had it not been for that trust in him. So I knew, based on his guidance, I knew the time frame that was required. I knew the numbers that it was going to take, and I'm talking about um, so many numbers. Phone calls, sure, that's one number that you have to make. Meetings, of course, and proposals or opinion of values. Also, numbers in terms of your market, like how many products are in your market. What's the density? What's the volume? What's the turnover? Looking at that velocity, can I make a living here? And if my average deal size is X and my average commission is Y, Z is going to be my net commission. How many deals do I need to do per year? And is that doable? So, and then to answer the latter part of your question, which was, was I focused on one or did I have multiple deals? Well, when you first start off, you don't have any deals. So you're focused on building relationships. And then as those turn into deals, whether that be listings, or if you're working a particular side, I had a particular game plan that I did, but that leads to other deals, and then you're managing that pipeline, and you're looking at probability of deals. You're looking at, of course, deal size, and you're focusing your time accordingly, because time is finite. We all get the same amount of time in the day. So where are you going to spend it?
It's not unlimited either.
That's right.
Were you naturally confident as a kid? Because you have to build relationships, like you're saying, but were you naturally confident? Were you naturally outgoing, or do you have to have that? Yeah.
Naturally outgoing, I would say yes. Was I naturally confident? That's a great question. I wouldn't say I was. I think most people who have met me and know me would say that I exude confidence, and I take that as a great compliment. But I think internally I battle that, because while I am confident, outgoing, internally I would say, like, I'm a duck on a pond. Like the stress is internalized, or the doubt is inside, but I'm just one of those that pushes that down and says, no, like, take action and go, because the alternative is not doing it and taking that action, and then nothing happens. So, yeah, so naturally confident. No, I think that grew in time, and realizing that everybody out there has their own insecurities. They all have things that they worry about, and I think we're all common in that aspect. It's just a matter of who are you talking to, where are they starting this journey, and so where are they on that level of confidence in real estate, or in life, or in their own financial security. So understanding that is, I think, something that helped make me successful, is that I was confident in my ability to connect with people in a genuine way.
There you go. So, and I love that you said that, because that is the truth. That's you. You're connecting with
Thanks.
people in a genuine way. You've always been that way. And basically, I asked that question because a lot of people feel like they have to be somebody else in order to make an opportunity in real estate. They have to change something. You just really need to start executing, leaning into, like what you said, you leaned into who you are. Hey, I'm genuine, right?
Yeah.
I want to, yeah.
100%. I couldn't agree more. You have to be yourself. People ultimately do business with people they trust, and they like. I would say the only thing that I faked, if you will, for lack of a better word, when I was first getting started, I learned that people want to be around people who are busy. So when you first get started in investment real estate, you have to sound as though you are busy, and you have a sense of urgency. So while I could easily spend 20, 30 minutes on the phone with an investor who, might be sitting around just, willing to have a long conversation, I needed to force myself to cut that conversation off because I was busy and I had other things to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that persona is something that attracts people. They want to be around people that are busy, that have a sense of urgency, that take action. And that was something that I had to learn. So
Right. That's a good nugget right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I was, you know, people that obviously are just getting to know me here. They don't know that I like to joke a lot, but you know, you're not going to fake something, but you're learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're still yourself, but you're learning how to be efficient with your time. And that's something that I had to, when I first got started, really just implement.
Now, you and I have talked. So you told me a little bit about your cold calling, right? You had an X amount of leads that you need to go through. What is the cold calling like? What was that first cold call?
In a word, brutal, right? No, anybody who tells you they like cold calling, they're built from a different model. Let's just put it that way. Okay.
Thank you. You're just talking about me.
You're built different. All right, Nathaniel. All right. I mean, I might be as,
but you got to get into it. So like when you're talking about it, I'm like, man, the very first one, it's like, damn, they might hang up on me. But
sure. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I got hung up on. Sure. And you know, but you get to have fun with it, and you know, and it's just, you realize like it's a numbers game. So you know, and you have to just pick up the phone and just do it. You know, so again, like I could be as confident as I want, but when you make, you know, 200 calls one day, and you know, 120 of them were wrong numbers or, you know, disconnected, and then you know, 50 of them are voicemails. Of those 50, 40 of them are voicemails where you're not even sure if it was the right voicemail, because they don't say, "Oh, hi, this is Jed Matricaria, blah blah blah." It's just you've reached, you know, blah blah blah, and so you're left with, okay, was this day productive? Because maybe you talked to, out of the 200, I mean, let's say 10%, you know, you talk to 20 people, and of those 20, you convert 5% of them to something, to gaining their email, to meeting them, to, you know, whatever it would be. It's just something that you have to commit to, and just pick up the phone and just do it. So, you know, for me, it wasn't, again, you know me, I joke, but that's the truth. It's tough. Picking up the phone and calling a complete stranger is difficult. The way I found it to be a little bit easier was to have something that was relevant to talk about. And so when I'm calling a multifamily property owner, let's say, you know, in Newark at the time, and I know this investor owns, you know, 5 buildings, you know, average building is roughly 20, 25 units, something like that. What is going to catch this owner's ear might be something that's upcoming with a change in laws about whatever it might be at the time. You know, maybe it was rent control up in New Jersey. Here in Florida, you know, there is no rent control, but whatever it might have been.
There's taxes and insurance.
Sure, right. There's always something to talk about.
There's always something to talk about.
Always.
So you really leaned into having something to talk about, because again, these folks that own these are, you know, multimillionaires. Did that intimidate you at all? That they, you know, half of these buildings are $10 million or whatever. Did that intimidate you at all, or you just picked up the phone?
I would say at first, without really having a good understanding of commercial real estate, it did. But then as I matured in my career, no, because quite frankly, the vast majority of them are not millionaires. They're using other people's money. They're syndicators. They're heavily levered. So no, they're not. They're working their way. But just because you own, you know, a $4 million building doesn't mean you are worth $4 million. Hardly. So, and that's looking at deals and understanding the debt and understanding, where the basis was and understanding, where the upside is, or was the deal stabilized, and like what's the risk, what's the return. The analysis that we would do on these properties is, at the same institutional level that your largest brokerages look at, $100-200 million deals, some of these massive properties with 300-400 units. You do the same thing for a 10, 15, 20 unit building. So no, later, once you understand who you're talking to, it was not intimidating.
That's good. That's a good note. What was that first closed transaction? How did that make you feel? And what was it? Was it?
Well, it was certainly validating. Let's see. The first one. What was the first one?
So long ago.
Yeah. Well, the one that came to mind, it was truly, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it was an 18 unit building. It was in Newark, and I called a doctor who owned it, and one of his relatives was a property manager. It was in a it was locked up in a LIHTC, low income tax advantage, whatever.
Like an opportunity zone? Was it an opportunity?
It was not an opportunity zone, but it was low income housing, and he signed a 30-year deal, which gave him tax credits advantages, which he couldn't do anything with the property. So it was basically he couldn't sell it, he couldn't do anything with it, he couldn't raise the rents. It was an agreement with the city that if he made his units available for low-income housing, then they would not raise taxes on them more than X per year. So,
Nice.
So I called him, and he had major frustration with this building. He was sued multiple times because, again, not a problem we have in Florida, but driveways would freeze over, he had a driveway, and also the sidewalk, and there would be a slip and fall. He got sued. He couldn't keep up with the rising cost of utilities. So even though the city agreed not to raise taxes more than whatever the percentage was at the time, his utilities kept going up. His insurance would go up, and so his actual net income on the property kept dwindling year over year over year to the point where he wasn't making money, and he also couldn't break that contract in the meantime. So he was kind of stuck. Right. And when I first reached out to him, again, it was open-ended questions to uncover his situation, and the things I just shared with you, like that was uncovered over many phone calls, and finally meeting with him, visiting the property, making recommendations. I mean, all of the things that I did as a specialist in the market. But when that finally closed, which, by the way, was a 18-month deal. Wow. So you talk about things not transacting. Homes can go under contract and close, 10 days, 20 days, whatever, 30 days. This was a legal nightmare. And I mean, I specifically, I earned the listing because I went through his contract that was, that thick, and it highlighted every little aspect of how this deal could be sold once, and he didn't even know when his contract was expiring. So I went through his paperwork for him because he couldn't afford the attorney since the building wasn't producing a profit. I mean, it was a nightmare for him. Wow. And by the time I was finished, he said something to me that I'll remember forever was, Jed, you saved me. Like you don't even know, and I had no idea when you called me. It's like all I did was get phone calls from brokers all the time, but nobody went to the length that you did to help me understand my own deal and then fulfill every single thing that you said you would, and including navigating those dynamics with his family, who worked as a property manager and also co-owned the property out of state. So yeah, I mean, totally validating, felt great. And, just took that and ran with it.
Yeah,
So,
you dealing with that kind of complex deal is something else. Number one. Number two, like you know me, I like to talk more deep into the deal because that's what this is, the deal lab. So you basically were dealing with a distressed seller that needed to sell. I mean, insurance and being sued by residents is rough. So he was distressed on all kinds of fronts at that point.
he was distressed, but excuse me, he was distressed, but kind of like my voice is, but he couldn't do anything about it. So
Right,
it wasn't
right.
your typical distressed seller where somebody could just say, "Hey, here's an offer on the building," and he could just wipe his hands clean and walk
He
away.
was still locked in with the city with
He was
the
locked in.
tax
He
credit.
couldn't sell. Right.
So so you had to really wait until the term went out, or
That's right. And
Yeah.
technically, I mean, you want to talk about the details since it's the deal lab.
yeah,
They were 2 9-unit buildings next to each other that he owned, so 18 units. But the first 9-unit building expired months apart from the other one. So the first thing was underwriting the 2 deals separately and together to show him how selling them together would be advantageous for him to obviously wait those few months and to show, not just to do that, but to also show how it would market it to generate. And I was the seller's agent. I represented, him when I listed the property. So it was in his interest for me to get obviously in the highest price with the best terms possible. And I showed him how I would market the property as a value add opportunity once the LIHTC deal was expired and the new owner could take the rents up and where they would be allowed to. So I was able to show him, hey, look, this is where your deal is now. And this is what the next owner can do. And here's why XYZ. So you really go down all of the little nitty gritty details. But at the end of the day, everybody sees, $1.9 million trade, a nice glossy, picture of the building and my face on the corner there saying, oh, just traded. But the amount of work and effort that goes into that, like I said, it was an 18-month deal. My average deal was, I think it was just over 14 months. So, and I mean, again, every now and then you'd have one that transacted quickly, but these deals in the due diligence process, there's always lawyers involved. They're involved. So when you're talking about commercial real estate, there's a misunderstanding of what it is, and I don't want to go off the wrong tangent.
No,
so
you're good.
I'm happy to share.
Yeah. So you said it was a trade. Was it a 1031 exchange kind of deal, or what was the trade?
So the trade in my jargon is the sale. So that was
Okay,
so
gotcha. Yeah, he's
was
trading. He's trading for his sanity at this point to get out of that.
yeah.
So,
but go ahead.
So if I was coming in as an investor, seeing a distressed situation like that, I want to buy those, several units. Is it possible that I could go and say, to the city, hey, listen, I'm buying this. I want to buy this. I'll keep whatever deal you have in place, and then he could sell it to me, kind of like assign his rights or whatever. Could he do that?
Is it possible? Yes.
Possible.
The process would have been much longer.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Again, you're dealing with a municipality that was backlogged because of, at the time, because of COVID. So, I mean, I walked into Newark City Hall, into the building department, into in multiple departments.
You were going everywhere at that point.
Yeah, but they weren't at the time. The records weren't electronic, so I mean they were backlogged and by a long shot. So I advised against that. It would just be
it would be a mess then.
It would be more of a headache. So,
yeah.
But is it possible? Sure. And by the way, that was my first deal. You asked about my first deal.
Oh yeah.
But that was not the typical deal. They didn't involve some type of tax advantage. It was a straightforward. I own this building, and if I choose to sell, I'm taking on whatever the expenses of that sale are. So like if they had a I don't want to go too deep because I don't know, but if I take out a loan, and typically commercial real estate loans are on 5, 7, or 10-year terms. So for those of you that don't know this, when you buy I'm going to separate the two, residential and commercial. When you buy a house, you typically get a 30-year mortgage. Sometimes people choose a 15-year mortgage. You'll just have a higher payment
every month. Yeah.
Your principal and interest will be higher. In commercial real estate, most properties won't cash flow done that way. So banks say, okay, we'll still amortize. Most deals won't cash flow if they just did a 5, 7, or 10-year term loan because the payments would be too high. So they still amortize it out over 30 years. But the bank or the lender says, this is a 5-year or a 7-year, and you have a choice to make in that once that term is up, whether it's 5, 7, or 10 years. I usually dealt with owners who took a 5-year loan term. So you either have to refinance or you sell, or you pay it off. You pay which most people aren't in the business of doing that because they don't have that liquidity and they don't have that ability to pay off a 1.6, $2 million, $3 million loan. So they're either going to look at the interest rates and determine if their cash flow still makes sense to refinance and keep it, or where's the market if I sell it. So they're executing a business plan once they buy it to the point where they know, hey, I have a 5-year term. I'm buying the building here, and this is the cash flow. Here are the rents. Here are my expenses. Can I either increase my rents in the next 2, 3, 4 years, or can I lower my expenses, or can I do both so that I'm increasing the value so that when that 5-year term
you can actually make a profit.
I can turn a profit. So that's the multifamily in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, I just I'm an investor, so my mind started going a little crazy. I was like, wait a minute, 5, 7. So all I have to do is watch who bought what. And okay, right. So that's
well. I mean, you could. I mean, like if I could do some quick numbers here. So let's say you have a 10-unit building. You follow along with me here. A 10-unit building that the average rent in the building is $1,500.
Right.
Okay. That is a gross income of $15,000. Okay. Let's say I'm going to take out a 3% vacancy and credit loss. So let me take that $15,000 and times it by 0.97. So now my income, my effective gross income after vacancy and credit loss is $14,550. Okay. Now, once I look at all my expenses, my taxes, my insurance, my utilities, my my property management, all the maintenance, and I even put in whatever market is for reserves. If this is a property where the landlord pays the utilities, then on average, where I was a specialist, you're looking at a 45% expense ratio. Okay, so I'm going to take that $14,550 and I'm going to keep 55% of it because 45% is out the door for expenses. So times 0.55. So now I'm down to $8,000. $8,002.50. Okay, that's my net operating income. I got all my rents in. I took a little bit out for when somebody moves out and I have to turn it over. I'm paying my taxes, my insurance. I'm paying all my expenses. Right now, when it's all said and done, I'm left with $8,000. So
you know what? I forgot. We also have the Real Estate Deal Lab Analyzer. So we're going to actually play around with these deals.
Okay.
On that. But yeah, keep going.
All right, then I'll wrap this up quick.
Yeah,
So
no, you're good. You're good.
If the market is, the buildings are trading at, let's just say a 6 cap rate, 6 capitalization rate. Okay, 6 cap. So then I'm going to take that number and, oops, I just hit the wrong button. I lost it. What was that? 8,002?
You got 8,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
You got 10 units at 1,500. So that's 15.
Yeah, so I was at 8,002, correct?
Yep.
All right. So then you divide that by your 6% cap rate, and of course I hit, so divided by 6%. So that is a value for that building of $133,000. Okay. Now, if I own that building and I took, let's say, 3 of those 10 units up to from 1,500 and market is at 2,000. I'm going to do the numbers really quick. So I have 2,000 for 3 of the units. That's $6,000, and I still have the other 7 units at 1,500 times 7. There we go. All right, plus $6,000. My new effective was raised to 16,500. Okay, I'm going to take out the same 3%, and I'm going to keep 55% because 45% are all my expenses. Okay, this is just rough numbers. Okay, now my net operating income increased by $800. Okay, so now instead of at $8,000, I'm at $8,802. So now the property, just by increasing those 3 units, was raised. I forgot the last valuation, but we're talking roughly. Okay, so thank you. I was going to say roughly.
I'm taking notes. People.
Great. So we're at we just raised the value by $14,000 approximately, just by doing that, nothing more. Wow. So when you take that and you do this at scale, you're creating real value. We're talking like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's what investors are looking to do. That's why they buy properties and they leverage, because when you're doing this and you start with 1 house and then you go to 2 and then you go to 3 and 4 and 5, you're basically giving yourselves economies of scale. So, and it's the same thing. Instead of running around from like 1 house to another house to another house to another house, you could do the same thing in 1 building.
Right.
And then you mentioned a 1031 exchange. Now people are going from a 6-unit building to a 10-unit building to a 15-unit building to a 20-unit building to a 50-unit building, et cetera. Because 1 vacancy in a 10-unit building is 10% of your income. But 1 vacancy in a 100-unit building is 1%. So you don't feel it as much. So, and granted, it's not easy to get to a 100-unit building, but
big or go home, basically.
But you have to grow slowly, right? Yeah. So, but that's what I was dealing with in that world of multifamily investment properties. Everybody wanted to find out, how do they get into a property? How do they start? What's a good deal? And it's this little, it's this type of education that, I was going to say little conversation. This is a big conversation, but it's these conversations, and little by little is where my mind was. You help these investors understand, well, you have to start, right? In order to see the dream. Like these people that own these 4, 5, 6 buildings I'm talking about, they started 15 years ago, and so you have to start, you have to take a leap of faith. But you have to do so mathematically, with calculating, hey, there's always risk involved. But hi, who is that?
My mom.
Hey, Mom.
Hi.
My mom and dad are in the lab today.
Right back at you.
Right. All right. See you all in a bit. They came to stop by the studio to see me. So that was
kisses to Mom and Dad. That's awesome.
This is real. She doesn't care where it is. This is going to be national TV. Who cares? It's my son.
I love it. Don't you forget that. Right?
Oh,
that's where you come from.
That's it. Never.
So, anyways, you got me off. I could talk for days.
No, but that's good.
Yeah, get a confident broker on camera. I'll talk forever. No.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I love real estate, so we could talk about this all the time. So it's better. So we could do a lot of value add in single family and not come close to one value add in multifamily or commercial deal. And the commercial deals, I mean, just renovating or adding square foot bedroom, bathroom, or just raising the rents can net you, more than 100,000 in value add. That's amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
That's right. And of course, Nathaniel, there's so many advantages of owning real estate, even at a small, you start with a small home, right? And there's things called, you could depreciate an asset. And for you viewers out there, the real reason people get into real estate, and when I say that, I mean on the investment side, ownership, is because there are so many tax advantages that are legal. Like it almost sounds, when people hear this type of stuff, what I'm about to say, it's almost like, what?
Yeah.
But this is how wealth is built. And it's things like understanding the tax law and, allowing yourself to write off expenses that are part of the building, depreciate the building, which is basically saying, hey, look, let's see, I haven't explained this in a while. So if you look at a home and it's brand newly built, it has a brand new roof, it has a brand new water heater, it has a brand new HVAC system, everything's brand new. From a tax perspective, from the IRS perspective, they actually will say all of those things have a finite life. Like your roof will have to be replaced 20 years, 25 years, whatever it is. So they allow you to write off a part of that depreciation. So not appreciation, the home's value going up, but everything in the home getting a little older and a little older and a little less efficient. They allow you to write off that amount every year. So you can actually have an income, you can make a profit, but from a tax perspective, it looks like you didn't. And it's legal because everything is aging. And yes, you have these expenses. And, as long as as long as you're not lying and you're doing everything by the book, and there are, obviously in any industry, people try to take advantage here and there, but like this is by the book. And I won't get into the weeds here, but there's a calculation that the IRS does in terms of like, hey, this is the lifespan on this property, and it's a different number of years for different types of assets. So we'll get into that at another time. But that's what people do. They say, hey, look, yeah, I have my taxes, I have my insurance, I have my expenses, I'm paying my water, my utilities, all that stuff. And I had to repair this, all those things. I've got a property manager, all of these things. I've got the lawn care, I've got, whatever else.
All of it adds up.
All of it adds up. And it also, they allow you to write off at almost like you could think of it like an expense, your depreciation. And that's a number that allows you to show you're trying to show the IRS like as little of a profit as possible that you legally can, so that you could pocket that money with it being tax free. So
that's beautiful.
I'm not an accountant, so I don't want to say tax free. Check with your accountant, but you get it. Right.
So that's another reason why wealth is built in real estate, is because you have these vehicles, and I love the game. That's what I call it, because there's so many different opportunities in order to make income. There's so many different write-offs that you can do, and especially for folks that are up north and in Cali and all the other states that are very high taxed, they should definitely be owning real estate, and having a good broker like yourself that will be able to understand and how to find deals, how to analyze them, of course, using the deal analyzer on the realestatedeallab.com. So, and any of those tools, really. So I love that. I love that you even know that, because a lot of brokers don't have that as a understanding as well. Like, how did you get that understanding and translate it to opportunities for your people?
Yeah, so great question. And I think part of it I mentioned earlier is surrounding yourself with the right people and the right team.
Mhm.
I made sure that I was trained by the best in the business. And, um, you know, a publicly traded company that has, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to
Right.
follow the guidance and stay committed to it. So um, I, I don't remember, but I want to say it was like a 5 month training of really digging into what's the cold call look like? What are these deals looking like? We're underwriting deals, like you just said, the deal lab analysis, and
Mhm.
understanding tools like the 1031 exchange, and how that could be advantageous for people. So it's surrounding yourself by the right people, getting the right education, and um, excuse me,
Yeah.
and making sure that you have a good basis of knowledge. And that's something I just want everyone to know.
Mhm.
You've talked about confidence, and you've talked about you know everything that we have so far, and tying it all together. um, you There's always resources out there. So myself, Nathaniel, like this, I love what you're doing here to offer people with the right foundation of knowledge.
Mhm.
um, but it's important to understand that you don't need all of it to be confident. what
Right.
you what you need is the ability to seek out the information. So you need the resources,
Mhm.
and they're available. And I think people don't realize that there are so many resources available to you. And it's
Mhm.
not just the two people on this
Right.
podcast here, video call. It's there are credible resources that people can get. And if you're listening to this and you're like, well, what are they, Jed? Well, reach out to Nathaniel,
Yeah.
and reach out to myself. Like we're happy to share those.
Because
But
there's enough for everybody, really. That's the way
there's so many. I mean, I talked about starting the business from my living room in the pandemic. Well, 2 hours of my day was on a training call that was self-paced, but I sought out one of the best in the business that offers his teachings, and and I could go and learn.
Mhm.
But when I was on the phone and talking with owners, if they said something to me, like, I'm just myself, and like
Right.
I'm not going to fake something, and
Mhm.
I think people will see right through that, and I
Right.
know they do. So I would just, hey, Nathaniel, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but what do you mean? What's a 1031 exchange? Like,
Mhm.
like
You don't really
hopefully,
have to know it all
no,
in order to make an opportunity. You just have to know, have the conversation, just like
right.
what you're
Ask
doing right. Yeah,
questions
just
and
ask
learn. Well,
questions.
how can I learn more about that? Because I want to call you. This sounds really interesting.
Hmm.
So I mean, probably a bad example to say 1031 exchange if you're in commercial real estate, because like that's something that's you need to know.
Right.
But you get the idea. So,
Hmm.
anyways,
And sometimes I'm comfortable saying, I really don't know this. So let me look
yeah,
this up. I still I still carry my notebook around,
yeah,
because there's always something new to learn in real estate investing. There's always something that you can put to your network. Really, can help you add to your knowledge and your tool belt. That's what I call it.
yeah.
So that's awesome stuff. Have you ever refused a listing before?
Yes, hands down. Yes.
Okay. Okay. You basically fired a client before they even became a client. How did that? What was one of those stories? I
So
literally I have to ask this question because
yeah,
I'm
I,
firing sellers.
I've said no many times for many different reasons. I'll say no if um, I will intentionally put clients through the ringer, so to speak. I will make them jump through some hoops. Um, all reasonable things, all
Mhm.
reasonable asks, and all things that. And part of my business plan was exclusively representing sellers. That's all that I did. So to answer your question quickly, I would have people call me and say, Jed, go find me a deal. It's not what I did. Like I wasn't running around the market for buyers. So that's just that. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people do it and make a good living doing it. That's not what I did. So one of the reasons I said no often was because it did not fit into my business model. That's one reason. And on the same lines, somebody would call me and want me to sell their 4-unit building, either, in my market or outside of my market. If it didn't fit into my business model, I said, okay, I'm going to be a mid-market specialist, which I defined as on the low end, a $1 million deal to on the high end, 25 million, because once you start to get north of that, and there's no perfect number here, but you start to compete with institutional brokerages, teams that have multi-billion dollars in experience. And I just wouldn't win that business as a new agent. So I didn't want to compete there. I would be wasting my time. So
how did you know to niche it down though?
That's part of, but that's part of understanding and getting training, getting good guidance, surrounding yourself with the proper team. And it's also understanding that selling a duplex in that market or a quadplex, a 4-unit in that same market is just as cumbersome as selling.
It's the same hard work.
Well, it's the same due diligence. It's the same municipality. It's the same C of O process. It's the same. It's brutal. So going through that, like I said, okay, well, you just do your math. Like if I'm going to sell a 4-unit for $400,000, roughly $100,000 a door, let's call it, at and don't worry, I won't go too far into the weeds, but 400 grand, let's say I got a 6% fee. That's a $24,000 commission check. Half of it goes to the buy side if you don't procure the buyer. So chop that in half, you're down to 12 grand. Your brokerage is going to get a fee. So whatever their brokerage fee is, you could be left with 6,000, 7,000
after all that hard work.
After all that hard work, which, don't get me wrong, 6 grand is a nice check. But if I can focus on a business plan where my average deal size is $3 million and I'm able to secure the 6% fee and do those same, if I don't procure the buyer, and most of the time I did because I ran the buy, I ran a model where, yes, I represented the seller, but I ran a marketing process so that I was attracting all the investors before it went very wide in the market. So I protected my fee and I was taught how to do that. And so let's say I didn't, right? Let's compare apples to apples. Chop that fee in half. So that $3 million deal at a 6% fee is $180,000. Cut it in half, it's $90,000. Your brokerage gets a fee, whatever that brokerage fee is. Depends, but now you're looking at somewhere between a $50,000 and $60,000 check instead of a $6,000 check for the same amount of time and the same amount of work. So I said no because it wasn't in my business model. I said I want to sell 10 units and up or $1 million and up, depending on the market. The market might be, hey, $1 million. It might be a 6-unit building. It might be a 20-unit building, whatever it is. So I said, okay, is this building worth a bare minimum of $1 million? And if the answer was no, I didn't work on it.
There you go.
So you have to protect your time. And if you run around all over the place, you're never going to achieve a goal because you're just chasing a check instead of staying focused on what you really specialize in. And I made myself known in the market as just that. Hey, Jed is the mid-market specialist. So if there was a building inside Essex County, northern New Jersey, which is Newark, Irvington, East Orange, Montclair, Caldwell, West Caldwell, all these townships, and it was basically a 10-unit building to what have you, 50, 60-unit building. I was in the game. I was in the mix.
Right.
Because people knew that's Jed. I didn't sell retail buildings. I didn't sell office buildings. And I got people who would say, "Hey, Jed, I own this office building. I'm thinking of transacting." Oh, all right, that's great. Hey, let me put you in touch with the right guy. Not what I did. So you have to protect your time.
I love it. I mean, Jed, you've been teaching me about that, so I love it. That's why I said I'm happy that you're on the Real Estate Deal Lab team, because again, the protecting of the time is key, and because that's not something that we have infinity of, and I had learned that through all of the sweat equity and work that I have to do a decade of doing real estate.
Yeah.
The same effort to do, just like Jed said, the same effort to do these $100,000 deals, the same effort to do $1 million deal or a couple $1 million deal. It's different. The check's different, and the type of buyers and sellers are different. So thank you for sharing that, because I needed that again. I do.
Yeah.
So if you had to go all the way back in time, what would you do differently? I think you already had a good framework, but what would you do differently in your real estate business?
Yeah. Well, I think I would have started a lot sooner.
Oh man, yeah, that's so true. Me too.
Really?
Why didn't I start at 10?
I'm
tired of this. Like, why wasn't I starting at 10 years old? The same.
I mean,
look for stuff, find it.
I'll just go ahead and put it out there. This is probably public anyway out there. I'm 46 years old. I started in real estate when I was 40, 39, going on 40. So I've been in commercial real estate and real estate in general for a little over 6 years. And I mentioned my brother is what was the catalyst to getting me into the industry, and he was chirping in my ear for a decade plus. Yeah,
right.
But I had this cushion, corporate job, and life was great, and you
were in pharmaceutical sales, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, I found it out. All this history on my friend.
There you go. ChatGPT. Tell me about Jed.
Hey, tell me about Jed.
Yeah. Don't believe I haven't even done that. I should do that. I wonder what it says. So everybody should do that. I bet that's a fun experiment. So it was comfortable. I enjoyed the science part of it. I enjoyed teaching. I really loved product launches, something that was innovative, that could help quality of life for patients. And I'm still passionate about that. I love it.
Same here.
And especially with loved ones that have now passed. I saw sick and I saw some medications that extended their life and did it in a beautiful way. That they were able to tolerate, and it's something that I really enjoyed. I liked being a part of that. And of course, everybody, drugs are expensive. There's always both sides of everything. There's a lot of R&D that goes into these medications. And for the ones that really are impactful, that's what I was passionate about. I was in the cardiovascular space, but this is the Real Estate Deal Lab. So
hey, listen,
not the cath lab. So let's get back on target.
So no, before you go there, because I feel like even that history of you being passionate, like I started in healthcare as well, right? I was trying to be a doctor, going to be a doctor, biochemistry, all of that. And it really stemmed from me just wanting to help somebody, because I was sickly as a kid, and I had a couple seizures. So I wanted to, just like what you were saying, you saw people that aging, you want to help them. And I think that passion still carry on into real estate as well, because you're really problem solving people's problems.
Well said.
And you really care. So that's how we connected, because I was like, wait a minute, this guy's what? So I find that piece of knowledge people have to know about you, Jed. That's the real reason what makes you tick. And you have a formula for being a successful top broker in multifamily space, which is insane.
And I didn't come up with it. So thank you. That's all true.
Yeah.
But that was learned, right? That was taught to me. Right. And I'm grateful for those, mentors that I had And I was a mentee at one point, so I had to take a step back and swallow my pride at 39 years old, 40 years old, where I was
That's huge.
at the top of my game in one industry, and knew everything and was the mentor for any new hire, to completely flipping roles, saying, I don't know anything. I know nothing about commercial real estate. Totally intimidated. Yes, I'm a confident person because I have life experience and I can talk to anybody and I'm not afraid to ask questions. All of those reasons. But at the same time, I just moved to New Jersey. I didn't know the market. I didn't close a deal yet, So
it's wild, man. I love it. To do
But-
that, what you did in those short amount of years is crazy. I mean, I'm looking at all the stuff. It's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, and I think anyone who's listening to this, I love what you're doing. I'm going to call you the doctor now. But it's true. We connected on, we're like-minded. I love helping people. I know you do too. And whether it's, because of health and, or family, mom coming in, giving you a smooch,
just come right in.
Yeah, tell her thank you, because I'm going to call mine to check in and say hi and tell her I love her when we hang up. But it's it matters, and that's what we're affecting here. We're helping grow financial freedom, and look, one thing we haven't touched on, and I know we're just past the hour, so I want to be respectful of your time and your viewers. Is why did I go from Northern New Jersey doing, average deal size of, $4 million to being in, Brevard County and residential. And that's a personal journey that, goes back to family. And that's what I chose. I chose family and could spend a half hour just on this. But what I was selling in that market, that business model that I implemented, does not exist here. Those buildings are not here. So I'm the same passionate guy about helping investors. The product's just different now. So if it's single family, and my wife and I are investing in single family units, I'm so grateful that I had the experience that I had in New Jersey, because it's allowing me to be a smarter investor. It's allowing me to share the knowledge that I've gained. And I like to try to be, humble, but it is an impressive track record. But to share that with others, that's what gets me going. I really love it. So if anybody's interested, you find me, ChatGPT me, Facebook me.
But hey, this Real Estate Deal Lab, because he's a part of the Real Estate Deal Lab now, and you can find him. Look him up. I'm going to drop a link and also tag him in the LinkedIn space as well, because we're also streaming on LinkedIn. But you're definitely going to see a lot of Jed, just inspirational on how he's able to analyze deals, especially large multifamily. He's bringing that same passion that he has down to Brevard County, where I'm locally at, and sharing it with, homeowners as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on as much as possible, as you're a part of the panel.
Thank you for having me.
Embracing those with your time too. And we went over a few, but I'm
excited about what you're doing, and I really am honored that you had me on, and I look forward to continuing this collaboration together. And everybody, you're in good hands with Nathaniel. He's one of the good guys, and I don't say that easily. So the doctor, till next time.
All right, sounds good. See you next time. And everyone, just tune in for the next one. Drop a comment if you found value. If you need help with any of your deals, realestatedeallab.com, therealestatedeallab.com, in all platforms. And I'll see you at the next time.